Welcome to the Brand Lincoln Podcast, the show where we dig into the stories behind Lincoln's most inspiring business owners and influential people. It's where big ideas and even bigger personalities collide. Proudly sponsored by Perch Merch, your one-stop shop for screen printing, embroidery, and promotional products that make your brand unforgettable. Call us at 402-217-5212 or visit us at perch-merch.com to give your business the glow-up it deserves. And don't just listen, be a true multitasker. Like, follow, and subscribe on whatever platform you're tuning in on. And check us out on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Brand Lincoln Podcast. We're basically everywhere you waste your time. Let's get inspired, Lincoln. The stories start now. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Brand Lincoln. I am your host, Chris Beecham, joined today again by just Henry Schmidt.
What's up, Chris?
Joe's busy designing stuff.
Something like that.
He's working, so...
We'll take it.
Yeah. So today in the Perch Merch studio, we have Jason Hellbusch of Kawasaki.
Thanks for having me, guys. Great to be here.
Well, listen, Lincoln, Kawasaki. Obviously, it's not, native to here. But at the same time, I grew up in Lincoln. I always knew it was there. But I don't know the origin or the history or really what did they even do there. And I met you at a very important meeting that we both had. And you kind of started just spewing history and stuff, and I found it super interesting. So if you're listening to the beginning of this podcast, just hang tight, because this is interesting stuff on how this all went, how it all came, what it came from. So I'm going to let you basically reenact that entire conversation. Let's just start with, when did Kawasaki come to Lincoln?
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, I remember our meeting well, and we started talking on this, and it's a topic that I like talking about. I've been with Kawasaki for 27 years now, so I've spent a good chunk of my life there and been around quite a few changes as we've been out there. But this fall, we will be open in Lincoln for 51 years. We celebrate our 50th anniversary last fall. And so through that time, lots of changes. But originally, we had located in Lincoln when Kawasaki decided it was time to build product where the majority of it was being sold. So if we go step back in time a little bit to probably the late 60s, the Japanese motorcycle market was starting to take off. They were building a smaller displacement motorcycle than a lot of the American companies were, and it was just more of a fun toy for people. But as that became more popular, mainly due to the fuel crunch in the early 70s, the sales really started booming. Kawasaki essentially set up some distributorships in the late 60s in the U.S., and that kind of kick-started everything. It was probably about, I believe, 1967 when they started an office up in Chicago out of an old meatpacking plant that was strictly used for distribution. Product was manufactured in Japan, shipped over to the U.S.
Ready to go,
ready to hit a dealership somewhere. And so the problem was at that time they didn't have dealerships. So this distribution center opened up in Chicago in this old meatpacking plant, and they were trying to sell it locally here in the U.S. And Nebraska started coming into this picture because one of their first distributorships was called Rocky Mountain Kawasaki, which was actually located in Gering, Nebraska. And so there's a gentleman out there named Fred Masick that owned this dealership, and he bought the first 4 Kawasaki motorcycles in 1964 in the U.S.
Okay.
And so their relationship kind of started there. That started taking off. They started distributing more bikes here in the U.S. through him. And one of the main people that was working on the project was his son, Alan. And so Alan's pretty historic in the Kawasaki world because we actually hired him away from his dad, which was, I don't know, that was maybe an issue back then, but it worked well for us because he became actually our first American Kawasaki vice president. And so
he's selling motorcycles out of Gering, Nebraska.
Out of Gering, Nebraska. First distributorship in the U.S.
And selling a bunch of them.
Selling a bunch of them.
Okay.
So there was a big market out by Scotts Bluff.
Yep. And, I'll be honest with you, I don't know where the sales were going, if it was more of an, national across the country.
Well, they didn't have online sales back then.
They didn't have online.
It's like, how did that...
Yeah, exactly. And so, this started to take off, and that's when Kawasaki knew that, okay, this is going to work. We're going to sell more bikes in the U.S. So at that point, kind of back to where I started going with this, they decided they needed to manufacture the bikes where they were selling them here in the U.S. And this time frame was probably the early 70s. Like I said, the gas crunch in the early 70s that changed a lot of things in the U.S. really kickstarted the sales even more, where it became more of an urgent matter to manufacture them here in the U.S. So they started looking around, and they had lots of different criteria, I think, that they looked at as to where they wanted to go. They wanted kind of a central location in the U.S. that was going to be easy for distribution, manufacture and then distribute, kind of almost like the hub and spoke method. And so they were looking for kind of the center of the U.S. somewhere, good labor force, good access to transportation and shipping methods such as rail or interstate systems. And then we go back to that step, and they had this connection to Gehring. And so they had this good feeling about Nebraska. So they made a checklist essentially of what they all wanted. And there were a few different locations that were looked at in Nebraska and some other neighboring states. But really the big final kicker was in Lincoln, Nebraska. There was a 260,000 square foot facility that was sitting out on the northwest edge of town that a company called Addressograph Multigraph, I believe, had built, but they never occupied it. So brand new building. That company manufactured equipment that was used to mass produce addresses for envelopes. So in the old days when you didn't have emails and whatnot and you had big distributions, someone had to make the labels. They did that.
That's a very large facility
for something that
that small
isn't super.
That isn't even relevant now.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and exactly. And their timing was not good because, as the story goes, that was about the time that, this was about 1973, 74 time frame that IBM was introducing personal computers. And so that gave people a lot more power to do, or companies at least, that power to make their own labels on things and distribute it themselves. So they never occupied the facility. That was kind of the big final straw that Kawasaki picked Lincoln. So we bought that 260,000 square foot facility. I think we signed the paperwork in April of 74. And by the end of that calendar year, we were producing our first vehicles here in the U.S.
So it started with vehicles.
Yeah. So actually Kawasaki has the honor, I'll call it, of being the first foreign vehicle manufacturer of any sort that produced a vehicle in the U.S. And so
before all the German makers,
before BMW, before Honda, before Volkswagen, before any of those companies built any sort of a vehicle in the U.S., Kawasaki built the first one.
So I didn't even know that they built vehicles. Did you?
Well, when I say vehicle, I use that term to cover motorcycles, ATVs.
Okay, got it.
The first vehicle
off-road vehicles.
I'm thinking like a hatchback.
No, sorry.
Okay.
I misled. The first vehicle was a motorcycle.
Okay, yes, that
still counts.
Still counts.
Still a vehicle.
A two-wheeled vehicle.
How many square feet is there now?
So, told you the original building was 260,000 square feet. Now we're about 2.4 million square
feet. Oh, cow.
So we've grown by 10 times. Yeah.
Wow.
How many people does Kawasaki employ in Lincoln?
Right now in Lincoln, with our contract workforce combined, we're about 3,000 people. So we've got about 2,500 Kawasaki employees, about 500 contract employees on site.
Okay. So we start off with actual motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
Within 12 months, you were making actual motorcycles in the facility.
So the first motorcycle rolled off our assembly line on January 22nd, 1975.
Got it.
And that was the Kawasaki KZ400 motorcycle.
Yes.
It was kind of cool. I mean, good looking motorcycle that, fuel efficient. People had a lot of fun, sold a lot of them. And you could buy it for under $1,000. I think the first price was around $500 for that motorcycle in the mid-'70s.
Do you guys still have one in the facility, like on show or something like that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I was actually just going to mention it. We have VIN number 3 on site.
Wow.
At Kawasaki. I believe it's VIN number 2 is down at the Nebraska Historical Society here in Lincoln, and VIN number 1 is in a museum in Japan.
Huh, that's really cool.
And we're gonna talk about this more later, but just so people know, you can go and take a tour. They give tours daily?
Every Thursday morning, 10 o'clock, public tours.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
We can go tomorrow.
You guys are welcome to come out. Anyone listening?
Do you give the tours?
I do give some of them. It depends on the day you show up, what the schedule is, but we will definitely be happy to get anyone that wants to show up at 10 o'clock on a Thursday out for a tour.
You can't bring your phone in certain sections, though.
That's cool.
Yeah, we typically have a lot of development going on our new products that are going to be coming out, and we're pretty guarded on those. And so, yeah, we don't let phones in the building on the tour. You know, you'll be able to see stuff that I think is pretty cool.
Got it. Okay, so then at some point, we transition from motorcycles to,
Off-road vehicles.
Yeah.
water vehicles. Didn't we do jet skis here for a while?
You are actually correct. So, start with motorcycles. Then the next vehicle that we came out with actually rolled off the line in 75 also, and that was a jet ski. So, if I think most people have heard the term jet ski, but if a lot of people confuse any watercraft as a jet ski. And Kawasaki is the only thing that makes a jet ski, only company making jet skis. All the other companies that are competitors make personal watercraft. We have jet ski trademark.
Okay.
Yeah, not many people know that.
I did not know that.
We were, I believe, the first personal watercraft out there. And so I think all of America started calling them jet skis. So when competitors started building them, I think the jet ski name just stayed with it. But yeah, officially, the only Kawasaki's are jet skis. Everything else is a personal watercraft.
It's like Kleenexes.
Exactly. Everyone calls every brand a Kleenex, but there's only one.
I did not know that.
The more
This
you
guy's
know.
full of fun facts.
So, but yeah, we transitioned from in that first year building motorcycles and jet skis. Actually, in 77, we started building snowmobiles. Did that for a few years. 82, I want to say it was, we did three-wheeled ATVs. And then by the mid-'80s, I don't know, someone decided that three wheels weren't safe enough, so they made us add a fourth wheel and changed the ATVs to four-wheeled vehicles. What else did we do? We started our mule assembly, which mules are the first side-by-side ever built. And basically a mule or a utility vehicle, side-by-side, it's like a mini pickup if you're not familiar with them.
Yeah.
So we use the term side-by-side a lot, and side-by-side means people can sit in them side-by-side. It's kind of how the term came about. Yeah, side-by-sides. In 89, we opened up our engine facilities, actually in Maryville, Missouri, and that group builds engines for the commercial lawn mowing market.
Okay.
They are part of what we call KMM, Kawasaki Motors Manufacturing Corp. USA.
Got it.
We like acronyms at Kawasaki. Lots of long titles, so everything gets an acronym. But in Lincoln, we're officially known as KMM. Here recently, we separated our rail car division off into what we call KRL, Kawasaki Railcar Lincoln. So I'm probably getting a little ahead of myself there, but essentially I'm going to take a step back. We talked about utility vehicles. After utility vehicles, we added industrial robots. We did robot manufacturing here for a while.
Like ones that put stuff together, like on assembly lines? Like,
yeah, so most of our robots were actually used by customers in automotive. So the big three in Detroit were kind of our main customers.
okay.
So we built robots until, I want to say, early 2000s, and then we moved that production to a facility that we bought in Michigan, or that we have in Michigan, that was near the main customers. So we're not building robots here anymore, but we use quite a few Kawasaki robots. Main area we use robots here in Lincoln would be in welding. We've got right at 150 robots that do welding for us 3 shifts a day.
Okay.
So that welding's a hard skill for us to find. You know, anyone out there that wants to get a good welding job, come talk to us. We're always looking for welders. But
Why? You got robots.
Yeah, well, the robots are more of a fill-in because they can't do everything, right? People are still the key, and so people are still welding in areas that robots can't get to. But some of the stuff that's easier to get to and very repetitive, we'll have a robot do. And so, honestly, we're always looking for welders. If we didn't have those robots, we'd probably be in trouble, because you figure 150 robots times 3 shifts, that's filling the gap of about 450 people.
Full-time employees.
Yeah.
That we struggle to find when it comes to welding. So, like I said, anyone that wants to weld, come talk to us. We're always looking for people with that skill.
Got it.
But yeah, taking a little bit of step back, we talked about how we transitioned motorcycles to jet skis to side-by-sides. Really, the first big, what I'd call detour from that path was in 2000, year 2000. We started construction of our rail car operation. And so that group in Lincoln builds subway cars essentially for the East Coast cities like New York, Boston, D.C. Our biggest contracts have been with Washington, D.C. and New York, NYCT. And they're the subway cars. You go to one of those cities and hop on a subway car, chances are it was built here in Lincoln.
Because that just seemed like the natural progression, motorcycles.
Jet skis, New
Subway
York
cars.
subway
Yeah.
cars.
Exactly. It was. I'll be honest with you. You know, I was fairly early in my career at that time when they said what we were going to do. I was thinking the same thing. Like, whoa, this seems way off what we're used to. But we had some top leadership that had a vision, and
that's what you need. Yeah, you need to pivot and move and change
Adapt.
things up. Yeah.
And, you know, it wasn't just like, oh, magically, hey, we're going to build rail cars. You know, taking one step back, we had built rail cars for the U.S. for a long time in Japan. And so we had a customer base built in the rail car industry through our Japanese manufacturing sister companies there. They built and shipped cars on ships over to the U.S. You know, back to why did Kawasaki move to the U.S. to start with? Build product where it's sold. Same concept with rail car.
Plus, that's a massive thing to
Massive thing, shipping costs
versus
are
a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's been a major part of our business here in Lincoln since 2000. I think we built our first rail car in 2001, if I remember correctly. Been shipping ever since. In, I think, September, we will build our 3,500th rail car.
Okay.
And so
And you can see those on the tour.
you can see those on the tour as well.
And they are.
Yeah. Tell me about this.
I haven't seen the tour. You just told me about it. I'm going to go see it. But they slide across the floor.
Yeah, that's true. We did talk about this. So when we're manufacturing the rail cars, you know, essentially they're all on an assembly line, a manufacturing line, and we move them station to station. Currently, just for round numbers, what we would call pitch, in other words, at each station, how much work there is 1 day. So that car will sit in one station for 1 day. All the workers will do the work that they need to do for the car that is assigned at that station, and then they move the car to the next station. So right now we're running about roughly a 1 day pitch, meaning we will build one rail car every day. And like you said, when we're shipping or when we're moving the cars around, essentially they're not on the big steel wheels that you see on the rail cars right now when they're on the tracks. We have them on air pallets that essentially you can slide
A giant hockey, air hockey tape.
Yeah. And these rail cars roughly are probably about 80,000 pounds. And I think if the three of us went out there, we could move one on these pallets.
Yeah, just push it.
Push
and
it.
Just go.
Seriously.
Yeah, essentially just for the average person, what they're upside down air hockey tables.
Yeah.
They have air pressure, they blow out, and they kind of hover, and you can just push them around.
How do you?
Be cool to see.
Yes. How do you move them normally, other than three slightly strong men?
Yeah.
So the normal method of movement, we've got some little carts. They're a picture. We call them like a tugger, car mover cart, but it essentially is a little two-wheeled cart that a person is holding a handle on. They'd hook it to the front pallet, and they can just drag the cart around, move it.
I just think that'd be so cool to see.
It is pretty cool to see. When you guys stop out for a tour, we'll look at it.
Yeah, for sure.
So going back to kind of some progressions here, railcar started in 2001. We've been doing that since, for 24 years now. And 3,500 cars later, that's where we're at.
Is that the main thing now? Or do you still do a little bit of everything?
We're still doing everything. And, the one thing, I'll give you a little breakdown of the divisions, but we haven't got to our third division yet, and that's aerospace. We added aerospace in 2017.
Aerospace.
So what we do in our aerospace group is we're building the cargo doors. And when I talk cargo doors, I'm not talking the door you go through when you get on an airplane like a commercial flight. I'm talking the big door that they'd move all the luggage and cargo in. And roughly speaking, they're about 9 foot by 10 foot. So they're a big door. We build 2 of them for every Boeing 777 or 777X airplane.
And then you ship those to Boeing?
We ship those to Boeing. They assemble them into the aircraft. And a little bit of a similar concept to what we talked about earlier with the rail cars. Kawasaki's had a long-term relationship from our Japanese company with Boeing directly. They'd manufacture components there, ship them to the U.S., put them on the airplanes here. We still manufacture quite a bit of the other portions of the 777, 777X. It's just that's done in Japan. The only portion we're doing here are the cargo doors. So
interesting.
Kawasaki provides a fairly good percentage of the overall fuselage and other structural components on the Boeing 777X airplanes. So
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Lots of stuff going on, pretty diverse, and for us diversity is good because we've got the 3 divisions here in Lincoln that, one of them's an OEM, the Consumer Products Group. We sell to dealerships and distribute directly to customers. So that business is affected by sales, whereas our railcar group is contract-based. We've got a contract with New York City. Right now we're working on the R211 project, which is, we could build about 1,600 cars total on that contract.
Are they going through that many cars? Like, what's the average life of a rail car that they need them one built every day?
The average life, or the required design criteria on rail cars is for a 40-year life cycle.
Okay.
And there are what we call maintenance intervals in that 40 years. It's not just going to put it on the tracks and it's going to run untouched for 40 years. There's just like a car, you got to get its oil changed once in a while. There's similar things like that, but the overall car is supposed to last 40 years.
Okay.
And so a lot of NYCT's fleet had reached that 40-year mark from the older side. So they've been busy, and luckily for us, replacing the old fleet with this new fleet.
Got it. I didn't know they had that big of a fleet. I don't know anything about subways, really.
They have a large fleet. I couldn't tell you how many cars they have, but I know, like I said, this contract alone's for about 1,600 cars.
Okay.
So,
is New York the largest subway system in America?
Yes, I believe that to be correct. Yeah.
That's the famous...
Yeah, and that's what most of our business has been with is NYCT. We did, a few years ago, we were working on a project for Washington, D.C. WMATA is their transportation agency there, and we built a pretty large number of cars that would run, I believe, from the airport in D.C. to downtown. So if you flew to D.C., took a train into town, you'd have ridden on a Kawasaki.
Yeah. Have you ever been to the main corporate headquarters in Japan?
I've actually been to Japan quite a few times. I think last time I counted, I think I've been over there about 14 times.
Wow.
What's that like?
It's an experience, I'll tell you. I'd recommend it to anyone that likes to experience different cultures and different scenery. I think it's amazing. It's a totally different world than we're used to. And it's kind of a neat place for people from the U.S. to travel because, I've traveled over there many times by myself without like any of, say, our Japanese counterparts to help you around, because you can get around over there if you speak English only. I mean, I don't speak any Japanese, and I'm fine to get around in the larger cities in Japan all by myself. So it's very neat to see. A lot of things that you see on TV, that's how it is. The street, everything's a little more condensed and crowded, I guess you would say, but it has a interesting combination of things that look completely old school and things that are super techie and everything else. And so I think it's very, very neat to see.
Got it.
How does the size of the Lincoln facility compare to other ones in America and the ones in Japan?
So it's a good question. I don't know the exact answer, but roughly speaking, I can tell you we're the largest one in the U.S. by far. I mean, essentially, other than Lincoln, we've got our two facilities in Missouri. So, like I said, Lincoln's about 2.4 million square feet with about 3,000 people. Our Maryville, Missouri location is a little over 1 million square feet and has probably 1,200 to 1,500 people. And our Booneville, Missouri location is about 250,000 square feet with a little under 300 people. So Lincoln's definitely the biggest. A lot of our other offices in the U.S., honestly, are sales related or, smaller, more specialized type facilities. So Lincoln's by far the largest in the U.S. When you get to Japan, it's a totally different feel over there because KMM, Kawasaki Motors Manufacturing, is owned by one of the 5 companies that make up Kawasaki Heavy Industries. So Kawasaki Heavy Industries was actually founded in 1876 in Japan by a gentleman named Shozo Kawasaki. They started as a shipbuilding company, and from there they've grown into Kawasaki Global, which is Kawasaki Heavy Industries. That's made up of 5 specific companies under that umbrella, and then we've got over 102 separate subsidiaries beyond that. And so globally right now we've got about 40,000 employees.
Got that. So how'd you get involved? How did this even happen for you?
For me?
27 years ago, you said?
27
years. You applied
years
to be a
What
welder?
What were you, 7?
It feels almost like it. That's what I like to think. I must have been young because I still think I should be young. But
I get it.
Getting older by the day. For me, it started out of high school. I came to the University of Nebraska Lincoln, went into mechanical engineering. I was on the 5-year plan. I didn't get done in 4 like I was supposed to, but
That's engineers.
yeah. A lot of engineers do the 5-year plan, which I get. It's a tough major to get through, and you learn a lot of good things at the university. So that 5th year, I went to the career fair that the university was putting on, and a gentleman that's been really my boss through my entire career, who's now our president, Mike Boyle, was working at the career fair for Kawasaki, and I gave him a resume, and next week I got a phone call to come in for an interview, went in for the interview and had a job offer and went there right out of school and just never left.
Didn't interview anywhere else, didn't talk to anyone else, just
I did, but honestly for me, I've been a ATV and motorcycle enthusiast my entire life, and growing up as a kid, anytime we'd come to Lincoln, I'd drive by that place. I thought, man, that'd be a cool place to work. And so for me, once I had that offer, it was kind of game over, and I knew where I was going.
Yeah, like you said, you never
left. And I've been lucky enough, honestly. I feel like I've had multiple different careers within one building, because I've, in the last 27 years, been all over the building and worked at various different points in many of the different departments. So for me, there's always been something new to do, something new to learn, and I've been lucky in that aspect, and it's been good to me.
What do you think the plan is for you and Kawasaki for the next 5-10 years here?
That it's a great question, and we have a very aggressive mindset right now in the consumer products area.
What does that mean?
So,
can we get into details on that?
Yeah, for sure. So when I say consumer products, that would be like the division that started out with motorcycles and ATVs, jet skis, side-by-sides. And specifically for Lincoln, what that now means is side-by-sides. That is the majority of what we're doing is side-by-side production.
Got it.
We do ATVs as well. And we just rolled out a new vehicle, actually, that was just introduced to the public here not long ago, which is a new segment that we're calling the PTV market, personal transportation vehicle.
Okay.
And our namesake in that market is the NAV, which is Neighborhood Activity Vehicle, is what it stands for.
So it's like a souped-up golf cart.
That's what I was just thinking. Fancy golf cart.
That is what it is, but our marketing group is very specific. They don't want it to be a golf cart. This is a high-end
Not
vehicle.
A golf cart in all caps on the website.
Yeah.
Got it. All right.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's not a golf cart.
Our marketing approach to it is better than a golf cart. It is very nice. It's
Souped
decked
up.
out. It's better than a golf cart that you'd go to at any golf course right out of the factory.
How fast are these going?
I believe, don't quote me on this, I think they will go upper 20s, like close to 30 miles an hour.
I feel like there's only
neighborhood
one way
vehicle.
to find out.
Yeah.
And there's only one way to find out. Get in and put the pedal down. But our target market is communities where people are able to drive around on the street,
Lake house type
lake
thing.
communities, retirement communities, you name it. And when you see one, if you go check out the website and look up the NAV, it's definitely, you're going to know it's different than the cart you rode at the golf course.
Those are
last
real
summer.
tires.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I like it.
Yeah. So
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta Google that.
It's
at
pretty
home.
cool.
That is pretty cool.
But essentially, our focus, like I said, side-by-sides, ATVs, and that new NAV product right now in what we call consumer products. We call it consumer products because we're an OEM that's selling right to consumers. And so that's, if people at Kawasaki say they work in the CP plant, CP stands for consumer products, and that's what they're talking about, is that division.
Got it.
Stuff that we can buy. We can't buy a train car.
That is correct.
Not yet.
You've got it.
Yeah, for the subway system here in Lincoln. So what about you? What's the plan for you for the next 5-10 years? You gonna stick around?
Plan for me? Yeah, no, I've got no plans to go anywhere. I'll be there. I've got some work left in me. Fortunately, unfortunately, I'm not at retirement age, so I'll be there for a good amount of time yet, and I'm excited about our future. Like I said, I've enjoyed the place. It's been good to me. I've always had something new and interesting on my plate to check out, and so I hope that continues for me, and we'll see where that future goes.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty stable company, I guess.
Yeah, we treat our people well. I mean,
And it's literally open 24 hours a day.
You have 3 shifts.
So essentially, for the most part, with the exception if we're behind on things, we'll work a Saturday. But for the most part, we're scheduled to be a 24/5 operation.
Okay.
If we get behind, we'll work a Saturday occasionally. But when we say 3 shifts, typically we're running 3 shifts of fabrication and paint that will keep up with 1 and sometimes 2 shifts of assembly work. And so that's something I should probably bring up a little bit about on the consumer product side, what we do that is probably a little different than some of our competitors. Our process from start to finish on most of our vehicles is we will get in essentially like 20-foot sticks of steel, whether that be square tubing, round tubing, rectangular tubing. And the different steps that we would go through, we would take that 20-foot stick of steel. We've got laser tube cutters that are going to cut that pipe to a certain length. It may add notches or holes that parts will get mounted to later, or that how the parts would get laid together to weld, like a notch. So the laser tube cutter does that. That would go to the fab shop to get bent into a certain shape. That part would then proceed into our welding shops to get welded into a frame. That welded together frame will get sent to our paint shop, or it'll get both e-coated and powder coated.
Building stuff from
Straight
scratch.
from scratch.
Stuff from scratch. And not many companies are saying they're doing that under one roof anymore.
No,
so that
not
makes
here.
us pretty unique for sure. And then after paint, that thing would head to assembly. Now we do purchase components from all over the world to assemble onto that frame. You know, we're not a company that's going to make a wiring harness or a speedometer. Those are kind of specialty things that they're experts at do. So we would purchase that type of parts. And essentially, probably about 65% of our parts are U.S. sourced. And when I say 65% of those parts, we have over 1,200 suppliers in the U.S. and over 200 of those suppliers are right here in Nebraska. When a company like Kawasaki that consumes the amount of parts that we do comes into town, we call it kind of like the manufacturing multiplier effect. We've got a lot of jobs at Kawasaki and a lot of economy impact, but it's not just us. It's our 200 and some Nebraska suppliers. It's our 1,200 other U.S. suppliers.
That's thousands and thousands of other people.
That's what we like to hear, you know?
Yeah. And so, you know, overall, we're over $1 billion in sales last year. And so it has a big impact.
It's perch.
Yeah. And that's good.
Super close.
But yeah. And so we do import some parts, you know, that I said 65% U.S. and that other 35% is imported. The majority of that import is from Japan, from like our parent companies. However, some are from, you know, the Mexicos or the Chinas of the world. And, you know, so this tariff situation we're in right now is having a big impact on us. And we're spending a lot of time figuring out, you know, how to minimize those impacts.
A lot of logistics to figure out.
A lot of logistics to figure out. We did recently actually open up a facility that's very similar to ours in Monterrey, Mexico. And so they are producing some of the product that we traditionally build here. The first product we actually transferred down there was jet skis. And it's kind of a bittersweet moment for us. It was a great new project to get another company in the Kawasaki family up and going to help meet production requirements. But until a couple years ago when we moved the jet ski down there and they started building the first ones, every jet ski ever produced would come out of Lincoln, Nebraska.
Wow.
The only plant to ever build them. And so, you know, for some of us that have been there for a long time, that was kind of like
that was your baby.
it was our baby. It was a bittersweet moment. But, you know, our Mexico facility is doing a good job of getting up to speed. And so they're doing jet ski production. They're doing some of our classic mule production side-by-sides. And so they're a very similar facility to what we are as far as the types of processes that they would do. They've got a lot to get up to speed on yet. They're fairly new. They don't have the 50 years of experience we've got here in Lincoln. And so most of the new models will come to Lincoln first, and we'll get them up and going, and then maybe some of the other products will head down to Mexico.
Got it. Okay, so tours are when again? Every Thursday?
Every Thursday morning, 10 o'clock, we're there. You know,
sign up online?
It's
Just
great.
show up?
It's great if you want to call. You can call the Human Resources Department and tell them you're going to be there, and then they know, but we don't require it. We've got people to just show up out of the blue at 10 o'clock every Thursday. So
Got it. And then if you're a welder, how do you apply for a job?
KawasakiCareers.com, and you'll see lots of different opportunities. Not just welders. We've got a ton of office positions, lots of professional type positions as well. We've got general entry level work as well. Check it out. When you go to the KawasakiCareers.com page, you'll see some of our other facilities. Like if you happen to not be in this area, in Maryville, Missouri, Boonville, Missouri areas, you can apply at the same spot. Just click on those locations. Our Foothill Ranch, California office is on that same webpage. So you can kind of see all the different opportunities around the U.S. of what's available.
Got it. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, you bet. I appreciate you guys having me. It's great to share some of this, and I hope it provided a little bit of insight and entertainment for some folks.
I think it did. Like I said, I've grown up in Lincoln, knew it was there. That's really it.
Yeah, you drive by it on the highway.
Yeah, it's
Big building.
Big building. Yeah, I didn't know it was that big of a building. But yeah, no, that was great. So thanks, everybody.